Now to heightened tension between the United States and Iran, including a not-so-subtle threat sent out on Twitter. Now, President Trump threatened to end Iran as tensions build. End. Now, this comes just after a week after Iran said it would pull out of the nuclear deal and resume a uranium enrichment program. RT's Dan Cohen has been following this story.
If there's one thing that Donald Trump is consistent about, it's mixed messaging. On one hand, you have this tweet from Sunday afternoon saying, if Iran wants to fight, that will be the end of the country of 83 million people. Then, just a few hours later, Trump says this.
And don't kid yourself, you do have a military-industrial complex. They do like war.
The president's advisors, well, their messaging doesn't change.
That's why before 2019, we here will celebrate in Tehran. Thank you very much.
After a briefing with John Bolton, the hawkish Senator Lindsey Graham is calling for an overwhelming military response to any Iranian threats. He accused Iran of attacking pipelines and ships, a reference to the operation against 4 Saudi oil tankers that Saudi Arabia and U.S. intelligence blamed on Iran, even though Yemen's Houthis took credit. Then there's the claim that groups linked to Iran are threatening U.S. forces stationed in Iraq, but a British general poured cold water on that claim.
I'm not going to go into the detail of it, but there are a substantial number of militia groups in Iraq and Syria, and we don't see any increased threat from many of them at this stage.
Now Iran is increasing its uranium production, signaling that it's not going to stay in the nuclear deal if the U.S. isn't either, and the European Union doesn't provide the benefits it promised. With U.S. bombers and an aircraft carrier in the Persian Gulf, it wouldn't take much for an escalation, intended or not. In Washington, Dan Cohen, RT.
For more on this, we're going to turn to former U.S. diplomat Jim Jatras. Jim, you come on us often. We're talking about China, Iran. We'll probably throw in a little Venezuela at some point this week. It's still the same hotbeds are happening around the world. It seems like we take 2 steps forward, then we take 10 steps back. In this case, does America need to be worried about the actions going on in Iran in the year 2019 right now?
We don't need to, but unfortunately we are. Look, it would be a lot easier if we just listed the countries we're not picking a fight with right now. A few weeks ago, we were talking about will we or won't we go to war with Venezuela? Well, that didn't happen. Now we're talking about will we or will we not go to war with Iran? It may happen. I don't think it will, but you never know. It's quite clear, as we've seen in the story, that John Bolton and others really want regime change in Iran, that they will stop at nothing to get it. We don't really know what information is being fed to Donald Trump. This attack in the green zone in Baghdad, right. That could have been the Iranians firing a shot across our bow. It could have been a Shiite militia. It could have been somebody on the Sunni side, ISIS or somebody like that, trying to provoke hostilities. It could be all sorts of things. Are we going to get trapped into what could be a major war, which, frankly, we have no interest in? We have no direct national interest with taking on Iran.
And that's my question, because you do. I separate Venezuela from Iran, and a lot of reasons, even though they both want to get us involved. But Iran, there is, the area is known for terrorism, all of the Middle East, of these different groups. And I look at how the former presidents came into Iraq. We created a terrorist group when we withdrew. We went into other groups, terrorist groups. That's the reaction of it. Do we risk that? Same, if we do go in there, and let's say we do declare some sort of military action, do we risk once again enabling and motivating another terrorist group to form that could come against the United States if we don't do this thoroughly and for the right reasons?
Well, let's take this in turn. In the case of Iraq, it was overthrowing the Iraqi government that created the opportunity for terrorism. In the case of Syria, let's be honest, we were supporting terrorist groups for 8 years trying to overthrow the Syrian government unsuccessfully. In the case of Iran, I suppose we'd have to get from A to B. We'd have to actually get rid of the Iranian government, and that would be a major undertaking. Now, will we also see using groups like ISIS, like Al-Qaeda, maybe somebody with the courage trying to use them as proxies on the ground if we don't want to send ground troops in? There are all sorts of possibilities here, and they're all very messy.
If the United States just stayed out of this entire situation for whatever reason, just said, you know what, you guys handle it, could it continue to escalate to where there would be a problem we'd have to address on a bigger, or is it better to take out the giant right now?
I think it's quite the opposite, is that there would be no escalating situation if we weren't cranking it up. Look, the Israelis, the Saudis want to get rid of the Iranian government. In fact, they would like to destroy Iran as a country.
They want to be the powerhouse of the area.
And of course, we know there's such nice democratic human rights respecting moderates. I mean, if you want terrorists supporting, forget the Iranians, it's the Saudis. And we also now have Donald Trump threatening what in fact is probably the worst war crime, genocide I've ever heard of in human history, that we will destroy Iran. Look, we
can you actually destroy, though? Can you destroy? That seems like one of those Twitter, I'm going to tweet it out as a threat.
If we wanted to, yes, we could. And unlike Russia, which has a nuclear arsenal that can destroy us, yeah, if we wanted to obliterate Iran and kill every Iranian, yes, we could do that. The question is, why would we want to even contemplate something like that? What interest of the United States even raises that kind of specter?
But the blowback on that situation, it would have to come back here to the United States. You know, President Trump did, I think, just about an hour and a half ago, do a little bit of a softer tone with Iran, saying, of course, you know what, if Iran wants to talk, we're willing to talk. Right now, their economy is hurt. It is crippling. So maybe, you know, he's trying to take that same sort of approach of, you know, call us, let's talk.
That was his approach to North Korea, fire and fury and all that. And where is that going right now? Because it seems his underlings don't share his vision. And the question is he trying to do the art of the deal with the Iranians? Maybe so. On the other hand, who trusts the signature of the United States on an agreement today?
But the question is, can you actually make a deal with the Iranians and keep a friendship with Saudi Arabia? Are they that much of an archenemy against each other?
That's a good question, but then I raise the question, so why do we want the Saudis as friends anyway?
Why do we want either side? How about we just keep, I thought the thing was America first, is what Donald Trump campaigned
Bingo, and where did that go? Look, there are a lot of countries in the Middle East, and they all have one thing in common. They ain't us.
Well, and that's the thought of it. So, okay, so how, is there any way we can diffuse the situation? If we can't be friends with both sides, if we're going to have to, you know, either pull out or just be friends with one side, is there any other possible way of diffusing this situation?
Of course there is. We could simply back off the rhetoric, back off the threats, back off the deployments, and start opening a line of communication with the Iranians. It doesn't mean we have to switch sides, but basically is between the Saudis and the Iranians, we don't have a dog in that fight. Why are we getting involved anyway? We should talk to everybody. The Russians talk to everybody. Why can't we talk to everybody?
Well, you had to find some hope yesterday. President Trump did an interview over the weekend where he did specifically mention the military-industrial complex and how much they want a war. What did you think of when you heard that quote?
You know, it's too bad that Donald Trump guy isn't president. I mean, he could actually do something about this, don't you think?
Well, he surprises us every day. So you
that is true. That is true.
But you're never surprised because you are always consistently
Thank you.
on telling us the truth.
America
Thank you so
first.
much. America first. Thank you, Jim, for joining us.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.